We're good to go.
You ready?
Yes.
All right, okay. Let's call the February 14th, 2025 Central Board of Architectural Review hearing to order. Do we have any member of the public who wishes to address the board regarding an item that is not on today's agenda? Nope.
Not seeing any public comment, and no public comment online.
Okay, any recusals today? Okay, agenda status report?
There was a little change on the agenda for item number 1, which was the site visit, item number 2. It's listed as Los Olivos, and it should be corrected as Lompoc, so make that correction.
Oops.
Madam Chair, would you announce why we're late? Most of the been here since 9 o'clock trying to get these meetings.
Sure. The site visit was our first item on the agenda. It was at 9 a.m. And so we are convening here now because we've just returned to the hearing room. And the first item is also the same as our site visit, and that one is time certain for 10:45. So that's why we're doing it this way. Okay. Did we need to massage any of the items order?
Oh, yes. We did have a request for item number 4 to be heard before 12 a.m. or after, or 12 p.m. or after 1 p.m. They have a conflict, so they would like to be heard before or after 1.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Four. Since we're gonna be out here by 12 before.
Do you want to take it out of order and hear it before item number 3 then?
Well, why don't we see how it goes with the
Okay.
first item?
We'll see how it goes and then we'll play it by ear. Okay, anything else?
That is all.
Okay, the minutes from January 17th, I have a correction on the minutes. Item number 2, the action taken should state that Lash and Clough abstained due to conflict of interest. And I believe that changes the vote to 4-0.
Okay.
And that's it. Anybody else have any other comments? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Informational briefings? Nada? All right, everybody knows to do your training and all that stuff. Okay, that's my nag. All right, so staff update. Do we have anything, staff?
Good morning. This is Chris. I am subbing in for Nicole today. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. The only update I have is that a project was recently heard at the zoning administrator. It was the Seaside Residence and Habitat Restoration Project in Gaviota. So I wanted to bring that to your attention since it was a project that came before CBAR, and it is likely to get appealed, which would send it to the Planning Commission.
Okay,
That's it.
and that's it. Okey dokey. All right, well, I'm gonna very slowly call the next 2 items. Our site visit, which was item number 1, 24-00134, Emerus Lompoc Solar PV and Battery Storage. We did make that site visit. And we actually had 2 members of the public. It was nice. So that leads us to, very slowly, item number 2, 24-00134, Emerus Lompoc Solar PV and Battery Storage. Do we have anybody online for this? I don't want to call it early. I know it's only 2 minutes, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
I think Sally Isaacson may be online. She was at the site.
Yes. Oh, yeah, okay. So There she is, okay. So, I'm gonna go ahead and read, start on the comments, which I'll do first. Don't believe our planner is attending online. And I think so the next thing we're gonna do is I will turn it over to the applicant to have him step up here to the lectern. And we will go through your proposal, your presentation, and then at that point, we will see if there's any questions of clarification from the board. After that, we'll do public comment. And after that, we will go ahead and come back for the board to for comments. Okay? So from last time, this area is a gateway to Lompoc and is an important historic visual scenic corridor. The project site alternatives analysis is difficult to read and lacks detail. Provide a more detailed alternatives analysis that identifies why certain areas are excluded. Create a comprehensive and detailed constraints analysis exhibit, including areas of abandoned mining that could be used for the panels, such as prime solar collection, slopes, sensitive resources, etc. Look at whether there's an opportunity to split the panel location into multiple locations in order to limit the visual impact. Would be best not to place the panels on the highest knoll. A site visit will be necessary for the project. It is anticipated that additional visual simulations will be required. Provide more details on vegetation that is being removed and vegetation that is proposed to be planted. The history and context of the site, as well as potential restoration areas, should be considered when determining plant selections. Clearly show existing and proposed vegetation and uses. Strong concern about the poles going over the hillside. Please consider undergrounding the line. Concerned about the chain link fence and how that will integrate with the agrarian nature of the area. There could be more agrarian style fencing, and I'm just going to say this, that's more appropriate. Please do not use a V-ditch anywhere on the solar panel sites. We support the replacement of existing vegetation below the panels rather than use of gravel or other material. Are concerned about glare and reflectivity. Please provide more information on how this is being handled, particularly with respect to the road, meaning the view from the road. Okay, return for further conceptual review. We've completed the site visit this morning. So we've got the plans up on the screen. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Okay, well, I'd just like to start off by thanking the board for your time and coming out to visit the site with us. We had prepared a letter response to each of the comments, and as the chair went through and read off the comments, we have little summary responses to each of those. So for the first one, the project for the area is a gateway to Lompoc, an important historic visual scenic corridor. The applicant acknowledges that the historical significance and the visual scenic corridor. In the layout of the project, we're attempting to get the solar panels down in areas to limit the visual impact as much as we could, and also with the combination of concept landscape screening plan, hoping to further mitigate those visual impacts. And we'll get to a point where we can take a look at that concept landscape screening plan.
Is it possible for you to go through the plans and tell us this information as we're looking at the plans?
Sure, yeah.
I think that would be a little more efficient.
Okay, so the concepts landscape screening plan, I believe, is the second to last page in the sheet. Not that one, it's
C15.
Okay, so this is something that we put together to address some concerns over the visual impact and also to address some of the vegetation that's being planted. So on which is actually the bottom of the sheet is east. So on the eastern edge of the site that borders the highway, we are planning on planting a combination of trees and shrubs in locations that we feel would provide some mitigation to that visual impact. The trees and shrubs are intended to be of native variety. We do have a plant palette, just example plants on the next sheet, so you can see some of the things that were considered for that. And the upper right-hand corner are the items for screening, and some of the trees there. We have other types of plants shown on here that would be intended to be used for other purposes such as biological restoration and erosion control down on the lower left. The erosion control primarily used anywhere the site would need to be disturbed or graded for the installation of panels. So back to the comment about not putting gravel underneath the panels. Yeah, the intent was not to do that. It was to revegetate with the native plant seed mix. So moving on to the second comment about the site, project site alternatives analysis was difficult to read and understand. We revamped that a little bit and actually put that as a sheet in this plan set. And if you want to look at that, I think that was C14 right here. So what we were trying to convey with this sheet was to demonstrate, even though Imerys owns a pretty large area of land, most of it is unavailable for this project due to existing mining uses. There was some consideration of putting rooftop solar and carports down in the main operational area. However, you just don't achieve the same scale to make it work economically. So that sort of put us in the northern third of the project area, which if you look, there's some blow-ups there, and the colorized pattern is as a heat map of slopes. The desired project site is over on the right-hand side of that blow-up, which, so the green colors are the lower slopes, yellow is getting a little steeper, and red represent areas that are 30% slope or higher, or really not supposed to be doing anything. So as you can see, most of the land is that red, orange, really steep slope area that isn't very conducive to development or solar. And then down within, with that lower right-hand image there, that's just a blow-up of the solar site, further demonstrating that once you consider some of the biological constraints, setbacks from riparian zones, so locked into that area that we were looking at. So then, for the next comment regarding if there's an opportunity to split the panel locations, this ties back to that alternatives analysis. So ultimately, there's not that many places to put panels other than what we've shown here. Splitting up the arrays also introduces some other risks as far as access and fire risk once you get things further away from the areas. All right. Item 4, be best not to place panels on the highest knoll. To respond to this, I did a little street view screenshot with the extent of the project disturbance area overlaid with that red line. I did this to demonstrate that we weren't planning on putting panels on the highest knoll. It does extend up the hillside a bit, as we were seeing this morning, but definitely not on the highest knolls there, lower area. Site visit will be necessary. Anticipated additional visual simulations will be required. So we accomplished the site visit this morning, and thank you again for that. And we'll accept any feedback as far as visual simulations that we need to see. Comment 6, provide more details on vegetation that is being removed and vegetation that's proposed to be planted. If you flip to the plans, now back on C3, which is earlier on in the set, I updated that. It was a tree removal plan. I updated it because the prior iteration, let's see, one more, here we go. The prior iteration had missed an area of eucalyptus trees that we were planning to remove. So I essentially updated this layout to reflect all of the trees that were anticipated to be removed. This addresses trees it doesn't address some of the shrub and the grassland that will be disturbed and removed for the installation of the panels. So as you're looking up that hillside, that scrub brush where there's going to be panels installed, that area would be stripped down so that you can install those and then revegetated with that local or native seed mix. Going on to comment number 7, strong concern about poles going over the hillside, consider undergrounding the line. So we were feeling that the gen tie, the intent of the gen tie line was going to be overhead poles, conventional wood power poles, and not the big steel poles that were being used elsewhere on the property for PG&E and Strauss. So our proposal is still to stick with the overhead lines. We think that the visual impact of those wood poles won't be as significant. And then there's also some risks associated with undergrounding. Just trenching up through the hillsides introduces some biological impacts that we would need to consider. The next comment concerned about chain link fence and how that would integrate with agrarian nature. So the developer has some standards as far as how to protect their sites. And so the chain link fence is something that we're not really able to get away from, but we're thinking that with the screening plan, some of that vegetation that's being proposed would mitigate some of the visual impacts from a chain link perimeter security fence. The comment about V ditches, yes, we weren't planning on using any concrete V ditches for drainage. And we support replacing the vegetation below the panels rather than gravel. I addressed that. We are planning to revegetate with native low-growing vegetation. And then concerns about glare and reflectivity. We did do a glare study in accordance with what is typically done on FAA projects. Found that the glare is fairly minimal. Now, given that it's focused mostly on the panels themselves, we do recognize that there is some potential for glare from the metal racking systems. The materials that's typically used for that equipment is galvanized steel, which can tend to, over time, become more dull as it ages.
Eric, we do have photos on his other.
Did they make it into the file?
Yes.
Oh, let me get them up.
Okay. That's probably a pretty good example of what the racking would look like brand new. That's a ground fixed tilt, similar to the style that we are proposing for this project. I would expect that over time that would sort of dull out a little bit, the main steel posts. But yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. That's it for the comments. I invite any additional questions or comments you may have.
I have some questions. Can you go back? Yeah, perfect, you get the same one. What's the orange?
The orange is oak woodland.
Okay,
We had a,
that's fine, you don't need to zoom in.
Oh, no.
And then could you go to your, the next to last sheet in the set? No, that's the last one. Yeah. So the reason you're not utilizing across the creek on that southern edge is because you don't want to have to transverse the creek and with equipment and everything like that. That's
Essentially,
the
yes.
idea,
Yeah,
and stay away from the oak.
I'll stay away from the oaks and the other, biological sensitive areas there. Just didn't leave a whole lot of room for panel installation, knowing that we would also need roads around it, fences, so we run out of room pretty quick.
Okay. And then, can you, this is the one I wanted, yeah. So, in your list there, and I know this is conceptual, just trying to make sure I'm on the same wavelength with where you're going. So you have a list of very different, plant material in the trees. You got Quercus agrifolia and Platanus racemosa, both which require very different climate types. And I've assumed that you're looking for Platanus more along the creek and the upland areas is where you're thinking where the oaks, is that?
Well, I don't know specifically, this is something that we have prepared by our landscape architects. If you have specific questions about that, we can
Nope.
respond to those, yeah.
Yeah, that's, I would, just a comment, I hope that's where you're going. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Okay, and then, let's see, there was one other. No, I think that's it for me as far as questions. Anybody else? All right,
Yeah, I have one question.
okay.
The area across the creek, was that, do you run into the same problem in terms of studying screening over there, or did the oaks provide sufficient screening from?
The oaks are against a portion of the hillside, so they sort of, there's not a lot of views coming in from the south, which is the right-hand side of the sheet.
You can't see it from the side.
Yeah, it's kind of, okay. Thanks.
Is that it?
I have a question. Can we go back to the photo simulation from the road that has the red line showing these?
And the response letter.
Yeah. Right, so is there any, because I don't think your landscape plan's gonna deal with what we see from the top of that little knoll there too, the red line. Is there any opportunity to add additional screening in the array of panels that would help mitigate further up the hill?
There could be, and yeah, I agree that those panels up there, sort of the uppermost portion of that red line are fairly high elevation, so just planting trees down lower, it's not necessarily gonna help mitigate all of the visual impact there. We can look at, planting additional trees maybe at this, along this portion of the highway, which I think is a little bit further south from the site. But we can take another look at that. I think planting trees within the arrays themselves, though there may be some opportunity because we're not putting arrays everywhere, we do introduce some concerns with shading. So you can't get trees too close to them, but there could be some opportunities to expand the planting to help address some of those.
Yeah, 'cause this is only part of the site that is.
Correct.
You have the berm from the road side.
Yeah, the berm is blocked.
Further north, it's, there is no berm, so.
Agreed, yeah, and as you move further north on the road in street view, it kind of opens up and you can see more of the low lying elevations.
Yeah.
And that's where we were focusing a lot of the planting was in where the berm kind of drops away, so we're concentrating our screening efforts there.
I think the screening plant materials can be very important to, of course, Platanus racemosa is deciduous, so you're not gonna get much effect out of that in the winter. Whereas the oaks are gonna be evergreen.
I think we're planning on a mixture of trees and lower shrubs to try and tackle as much of it.
I think the landscape plan should be critical from my perspective to help mitigate the enormity of 50 acres of land.
Can I come back to you and,
Please.
okay, but, any other questions? All right, let's do public comment. I think we have at least one person, possibly more. Here. I don't think we have anybody in the room. I think she's online.
We don't have anybody. If you're online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Okay, Sally.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks for letting me speak.
Would you like me to go over what our purview is real quick?
Yeah, why don't you? That'd be great.
So this is the Board of Architectural Reviews, everybody knows. So items within our purview are, you know, some of the site planning, some of the, yeah, obviously the visual aspects of it. But we don't have any say, and really it doesn't even come into our findings, you know, about traffic or construction or access, or even really in some ways the biologics. So really we have a very narrow constraint, unlike the planning commission, for example. So if it's a great help to us if you concentrate your comments regarding the project based on, you know, the visual aspects, but it's your 3 minutes, say whatever you like.
Okay, well, I don't have anything written, so it's going to be random based on the site visit and the fact that I've lived along this highway for 50 years, and myself and my neighbors value greatly the fact that it's one of 2 scenic highways in the county. And we object to any industrial type development along the scenic highway. So that's a big thing. That's a visual item. I don't see how you can make this invisible. And it's the entrance to Lompoc, but we don't want Lompoc industry, and we don't want Lompoc sort of leaking out along the road and destroying the agricultural and rural nature of the highway. So that's part of it. And then I got a quick glimpse at the plant list. If the project actually does happen, I would, as a botanist, have a problem with some of those plants. Gray pine does not grow in this area. Interior live oak does not grow in this area. And I didn't see the whole list, but I would think that we need only plants that are naturally occurring in the area. And Caltrans does a lot of funny things and puts the wrong plants, and sometimes they hybridize with a natural vegetation. And so I think, you know, the botanical people should look at the list of screening plants. But the main thing is we really do not want any visual intrusions along the scenic highway. And the scenic highway starts at 101 and ends at 246. And we feel that since the property is over 2,000 acres, and you guys are used to driving big machines and probably own lots of big machines, there must be a way of making some of the topography suitable. And a lot of the mine has already been torn up. Miguelito Canyon is already torn up. So why does it have to go along the scenic highway? I mean, you can't keep the whole place open just because you might mine it in the next 100 years. Anyway, so that's a random selection of comments, but the main problem is citing this type of visual intrusion along the scenic highway. Thank you.
Thank you. That was perfect. As far as timing, you were absolutely spot on. Okay. You can, if you want, you can lower your hand and mute your mic.
Okay. I
So-
can move my hand.
Thank you. Okay, so, board,
Are we starting?
yeah,
I'll go.
okay.
Am I speaking to someone in specific?
The
Oh,
owl,
just the owl,
that's the
okay. Well, I
microphone.
thought I was gonna be speaking to him. Is the chain link fence absolutely necessary?
Sorry,
Thank you.
I was thinking.
Is the chain link fence absolutely necessary and why?
We did look at some alternatives, but the developer does have their standards for they need to protect their site. And so the chain link is one of the only ways, or if not the only way. Ankit, do you have you wanna come up and speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean,
Because I would be curious on like who would be over there destroying it besides maybe a cow fence, just to mitigate how ugly a chain link fence is.
yeah, so that, the chain link fence kind of like is a standard,
Anybody can encircle the entire
yes,
project.
yeah. So it's basically to avoid any intrusion to the site, and that's according to the HSE standards, which is like the health and safety standards, policy for Total Energies as a developer. So that's the reason why, in order to comply with those standards, we have to have a chain link fence.
Well, I'd be, I could see this if it was actually where you're mining and you've got other activities going on, but it does not fit. And in fact, in my experience, 25 years on this board, the chain link fence is actually gonna be an attractive nuisance. It's gonna say, there's something really, really nice over here, and you should come and investigate. I think if you're looking really to blend this in and to keep people out, your best bet is to grow as agrarian as possible, even if you have to go more deer fence height. You know, I think you should really, really take a good hard look at that.
Yeah.
Because for me, chain link is a non-starter, just completely. Doesn't fit the character of the area, there's no compatibility. And, yeah, that's something I was gonna choke on.
So that was my first comment. The second comment is like having poles, those wood poles that go straight. I think that is a huge visual blight. If it could follow the road somehow, if this project gets finally approved, that would be something I would really consider, just to mitigate that, which is an unnatural line. And my third and final comment are, I would at least quadruple the trees, at least. I
Do
don't
you
know what the
wanna
word
talk
for.
about,
The height of, yeah, well, I'm sure one of my other colleagues will talk about how high it goes up. If it was cut halfway down, I think you would have a better chance of moving forward. Thank you.
next?
I think I've made my comments on the landscape, I think it's,
Okay,
More is
more is better, but I need to understand the point is more, to see a more appropriate point
and by more appropriate, you mean something
for the area,
more endemic to the area?
yes.
Good word. Okay.
So keep with the native, but just look at things that are more,
That are gonna work.
specific to that area. That was a good catch of Sally's, the gray plank, she's absolutely spot on about that. The madrone would also fall into that category. And then you'll just have to keep going through the list, but yeah, and I think, as far as the landscape, I think there's a real big challenge, usually when we're dealing with a building, say, we say, the building has to stand on its own visually. It has to meet all of our requirements and findings because landscape dies. And once it's gone, what are we left with? We're left with this structure, whatever it is. And so then we start getting into color and we start getting into breaking up your massing and a lot of those are, the panels come as the panels come. So when we are facing a project like this where we can't adjust color, we can't do those kinds of things. So, you know, it makes your job a lot more difficult, but it makes ours a lot more difficult too, because trying to find that nexus point where everything works is it's a lot smaller.
Right.
That nexus is a lot smaller. So I really think that, yeah, you really need to look at that shape. And I would say, can I use your mouse pad? So I think the biggest visual concern when we were looking at is this section up here, which you can see, and then this section, not so much up here but right here, it kind of starts to repose. There's kind of, it's like the military slope. You're just back of it. So when viewing from the south, I think you really need to look at this area again. And I know it gets fiddly and it's gonna add cost, but I think you really need to take out some of this stuff, and maybe even potentially over here, because from a distance, closer up, this is gonna be, I think, based on my experience, you're gonna see a lot of this. When you come right around the curve there, that's what you see. Of course, you don't see this. This area down here, when you're headed southbound, you've already got this in front of you. This really doesn't add anything to the view. So this is bonus, this area, as far as visually, okay? And I know it's challenging, but this whole project's gonna be challenging. So I think you're gonna have to take it on the chin a little bit, and just kind of step up. But my concern is up this slope. And our comment about the knoll meant up the knoll, not on the top.
Oh,
We
okay.
knew you didn't have anything
Okay,
proposed on
yeah,
the top.
all right.
We were specifically talking about this rise on this knoll, and these areas in here, these middle areas. And I think you can, there's some means where you can grab some of that other area and make use of this berm here that's along one, which effectively puts all of this out of sight, you know? So, and I think even from this, you're gonna have to do some quick and some really specific site, you know, looking at it and really take a look at it. And I'll tell you something else, you're really not gonna be able to see a lot of it until a lot of that vegetation is either reduced or removed. So, as you move forward, you may find that some selective removal, if the county is in favor of it, I mean, work with the planner, because I'm just talking out of my hat. I'm talking about my seat and my perspective here. But there's a lot of stuff, and I've worked on many a project where we came in and we managed to cut down some of the brush and stuff, and it was just for fire abatement. It was like, whoa, we didn't know that's a nice little place and an opportunity. So I think you might find that there could be some areas that may or may not be as visible. Kind of the truthing it out, because we can do photo sims till we're all blind and it still doesn't, you don't know until you build it. So that's what I'm thinking. And, you know, we are gonna see, you can see, we don't protect private views. Just gonna say that right now. But when we stood up here on the road and looked back, we got about halfway up and you could clearly see Hilt Winery and Santa Rosa Road itself, and where it curves around after it goes by Hilt and curves back around. There's a lot of viewing to be done. So I go back down and stand on Santa Rosa and take a look and see. And this all ties in for me. When we were talking about reflectivity, you mentioned the FAA. I'm gonna assume that primarily they're thinking about things that are higher viewing angles. I'm really interested in what it's gonna be like when I drive my car through there. And, we have all kinds, we deal with glazing of all types. So reflective materials, even paint, even white paint can be highly reflective. Roofs, metal roofs in particular, often. Anything that has any kind of that kind of a component to it, you know, at certain times of day, depending on what your angles are. So really what I'm interested in, and it was thank you very much for the pictures of the racks. And that was really helpful to see how you're gonna be situating it. But I'd be really interested in, you know, because I mean, obviously if you're shallow angle, like 15 degrees, then yeah, I'm coming along the road. That's not really gonna be a problem. But if you start to get up towards 30, depending on where I am, it could be a problem and where the panel is. So it just seems like, I personally would like some reassurance that I'm not gonna get, whoa, you know, as I'm going along. Probably wouldn't, and I wouldn't expect it, given the angles, but I would like you to just kind of check it out for us. I really have, the visibility issues for me are, you know, paramount, which is of course why I'm suggesting you go traipse between these two biological sensitive areas. And I understand that. I even understand some of the slope issues. But the more you can kind of maximize what you've got is I think gonna be helpful. And thank you very much for that much more detailed slope analysis. That was much more informative as far as, for me, and understanding it. And then, for the last thing for me is, I think Lowell said everything about the planting. I just look to see you as you move forward. And then, the chain link is really a no-go. It just is gonna be a no-go. So I think, you need to really kind of, bear down and look at some agrarian styles that can accomplish what you want with this security of the chain link without looking industrial. Okay, without looking urban, because this is not an urban site. And I think all of those are gonna be, it's gonna make this more palatable and us more able to digest it. Okay, anybody else?
I wanna reiterate the comment about that bow tie area up before the top. Yeah, over there. It doesn't take photo sims or a professional degree to do the math that this is more of a visual impact than this is when you're driving or walking or doing just about anything. And it seems like out of any area on the site, that's the chance to really knock out some of the visual impact while not throwing off, you know, hopefully all the numbers you need to make the project worth your while in the first place. It seems like there's, you know, some 25% slopes going on in there. And I was looking at the contour. To be specific, it looks like there's a band from
Which one are you looking at?
C2.
So flip to it,
Yeah.
you can highlight it for everybody. It's gonna be.
And I was pleasantly surprised that when you're at the top where it flattens out again.
Yes.
It is.
You get that angle of repose.
Yeah, but there's that band from contour 325 to 355 maybe, where it kind of swoops around there, in between the top flatter part and the lower parts that.
Just about where the cursor is, but to the left.
To the left of it.
And down,
Yeah.
down to left, down, that band there. I think it'd be appreciated and go a long way if you could study that with a little bit more scrutiny. Maybe even it's a 2-for-1 where you find a new home for a select number of panels there and replace it with some more screening for the upper ones or something. Whatever you can do there would be appreciated.
Okay. Take a look at it.
Okay. So, yeah, and don't limit yourself to just perimeter screening. Take a hard look at where you can put things
In the
with-
center.
within the site, specifically, yeah, that center area, kind of where that red
We're
is.
not planning on putting arrays there.
Where you're not gonna be putting arrays, right? You may be able to get some shrubs in there or something else that will visually screen from a southern view or even a north view. But those are the two things. And I think you can see the northern end, where it's up on that slope. I think you can see that from further down one, down towards where the double lane is, passing lane. I think you can see it crowns up above, and it's probably not as visible from Santa Rosa, but on one, that's the more visible from a distance.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're heading from the south to the north.
Northbound, yeah. Because the hill on the south side here doesn't, it's this area. This is just peeking up a lot. Yeah. But, you get, and it's a straight on view, which are very important to us. I mean, granted, most of the cars driving on our roads today, most often, or a high portion of the time, you have the driver who really, let's face it, is trying to focus on the road. But if you put a solar array right in front of me as I'm looking down the road, I'm gonna see it and I'm gonna notice it. And that is a very big view. Not to say that we don't discount those poor sods whose partner always drives and they have to look out the window, right? So we have those as well. So, you know, we are looking at, but we do look at views and, you know, distance is a factor, but so is angle. So those are all things we're gonna be taking in, I'm going to be taking into account when I look at it. And I noticed that there was a view of that area. So, okay, anything else? Alan?
Well, perspective, if you haven't already mentioned.
Okay, I will talk to, Katie.
I think Katie is online.
Oh, is she online?
Katie, are you online?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm online.
Okay. So have you been listening to the whole?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not in attendance today. And I, of course, am having issues with my audio. It's a little bit muffled, but I've been trying to keep up.
Okay, well, I always tell people, speak loudly and project. Something I don't have a problem with. So, yeah, so as far as next steps, I think we want you to return at least one more time while we're looking at this. Katie, do you want to talk about the timeline for the EIR and anything else going on your side?
Yeah, I think so. So, in terms of coming back for another conceptual, I think that we might have a little bit more of a productive meeting if we come back a little bit later in the process. So
Okay.
the next steps are, I'm preparing a request for proposals right now to get a contract with a consulting company to actually write the EIR. And so that's going to take, a couple weeks to get through that process. But then, as we've already discussed, we know that this is going to be an environmental impact report, specifically for visual impacts. So when we lock down that contract with the consulting firm to write the EIR, we're going to send out notices for a scoping meeting. And that basically says, hey, public, come out and tell us like your main issues. Obviously there's concerns with visual. Maybe there's going to be concern that we haven't discussed in the past. So that's kind of the purpose of this scoping meeting. It's really to give the consultant and the county kind of public comments on how to go about this EIR. So I think that is going to be really helpful. And then after that takes place, we start writing the EIR based on, the issues discussed at the scoping meeting. And then once the draft EIR is complete, another notice is sent to all the neighbors and all the interested parties. And there's a 30-day public review period in which people can send us their input, send us their comments, send us their concerns about that draft document. And then that all those comments get incorporated back into the final EIR. And then the mitigation that comes out of that EIR becomes conditions of approval for the land use permit. So the tricky thing with this project is we have those 2 public hearings associated with the EIR process. And then once the EIR is complete and finalized, the next step is really to approve the land use permit. And because it's just a land use permit, it's a director level approval, which means there's no public hearing. So what we're going to do for BAR is we'll have these 2 EIR meetings, and then we can go through the 3rd conceptual hearing for BAR, and then preliminary approval for BAR. And we want to kind of line up the preliminary review and preliminary approval with BAR with the land use permit approval. So really we're looking at the scoping meeting, the public review period for the EIR, another conceptual review, and then preliminary approval for BAR. And then once we get the preliminary approval and the land use permit approval, that's when we go in for final approval BAR.
Okay, I would like, and this is something I'd like the applicant's input on too, but I think that given the breadth of what we suggested, specifically, you know, reducing here and, you know, kind of massaging on the site, I would be more comfortable if what went into the EIR was that adjusted and maybe some more depth on your planting plan. I think one more conceptual review would be helpful prior, you know, as you're going along with the staging of the contract and everything else. I think that would help as far as the mitigations in the EIR. So I think it would make us more comfortable too, because then we'd kind of have a better handle on exactly what might come out of that EIR process and what the conditions might say as far as, and so that we're not locked into a plan that neither of us thinks is workable. So if you're comfortable with that, I'd rather you came back while Katie is going along with it. I would rather you came back at least one more time.
Yeah. And maybe you want to say something, Eric, but I think that makes perfect sense.
And you don't have to
Chair.
decide right this instant,
Yeah.
but it's a real strong preference on our
We've
part.
got some great comments from you all. I appreciate that. We could definitely be working with the consultants on the plant list. We'll study these other areas that we talked about. And Katie, what I'm thinking is, I'd like the RFP process to move forward.
Yes.
And it seems like maybe getting the EIR consultant on board, we can also coordinate with that EIR consultant on some of the comments that we've heard today and in the past, so that then the next version we bring back is responsive to the comments we've received from you all today, but before the EIR consultant gets going in earnest on their analysis.
That's kind of what I'm
Okay,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah, so that the EIR consultant is most up to date and has taken into account whatever your responses are to these comments today, because I think there could be quite a bit of massaging and at least as far as the plant list, a lot more information.
Right.
Which would be available to the consultant.
Right. That makes sense.
And staff. And I just think at least one more meeting kind of interspersed in that process, not holding that process up at all, but just let it run and then just come back for one more time and kind of see what you get. Even if you wanted to take an extra month, you know, so you didn't come back next month, maybe you come back in April, whatever it is.
It'll probably be a couple months out.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There's
Just
no
given the
problem.
RFP process.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's fine, but as long as before I'd hate to kick off the EIR, because they're gonna take whatever we have extant at that point,
Yep.
and that's what they're gonna work on.
That's right.
And it's not gonna reflect a lot of the work that we've done.
Understood.
as
That
a
makes
group.
sense. I think that makes sense.
So I think it would best serve everyone if we did it that way.
Okay.
At least one more
Yep.
conceptual review, and then we'll come back after the EIR and look at everything then.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Katie?
Yeah, I'm on board with that. So we'll lock down the consultants, kind of bring them up to speed, come back for another conceptual, and then that's when we'll hunker down to start writing that draft environmental impact report.
Sounds like a good plan. Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we accommodating that request to move forward?
Yep, that's what we're
I make a suggestion since the next 3 hours. Can we go ahead and do 3 and then we'll trail 4 after 5?
yeah, that works.
Yeah.
It works for you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Since they're both your projects, all your projects.
Hi.
It's the brand name show.
Oh, shoot. Okay, yeah, so, item number 3, 23 bar 131, Mountain Trek Inc. Guest Ranch.
Again, board, nice to meet you, members. The architect Jim should be joining us. He's gonna kind of lead the discussion on the evolution and reaction to 15 or 16 months ago comments.
Oh, let me
So we'll
see.
see if we have Jim.
I'll read the comments while we get technology in order.
Okay, great.
A site visit will be required. BAR will work with the applicant on appropriate timing for the installation of story poles. Work with your planner to depict the applicable hillside ridgeline height requirements and demonstrate compliance on the plans. Feedback is limited at this time since the planner has not yet been assigned. You came on your 1 free pass. So now you have a planner and,
Hello.
right? Return with a planner memo adjusting site constraints, resources, if those elements impact the location of buildings. Excuse me. Did we have a planner memo with this?
This is Willow, the planner. Sorry, I didn't draft a memo, but I'm happy to speak to site constraints. And I think there were also comments about the hillside ridgeline restrictions.
Sure, Willow, why don't you bring us up to speed and then I'll let the applicant do their presentation.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so this site is pretty constrained by oak woodland on the site. So the proposed development is to the maximum extent feasible in the location of existing development. They'll be demoing the existing buildings and constructing in those areas. And that's also so that they can use the existing driveway. The site is pretty steeply sloped. So using the existing driveway would avoid large amounts of grading for access. And then with regards to the ridgeline hillside guidelines, the height limit is 16 feet since it's rural. And the proposed buildings are meeting that 16-foot height. And then there's just the other guidelines for materials and colors to be compatible with the terrain, minimize retaining walls, and use landscaping to make sure the development is compatible with existing vegetation. And I can answer any questions.
Okay. Well, go ahead and get us oriented and
Yeah,
project location.
do we know if our architect Jim's joined?
Would you, the okay for me to speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, could you, since I don't have control of the screen, can you go to A2? Great, okay. I can't point, so I'm gonna have to use words to describe what we're seeing. First, my name's Jim Cutler, an architect. And I'm just gonna briefly kind of reapprise you of where this is. It's on Paradise Road, several hundred meters west, maybe actually more like that, 3/4 of a mile, west of Rancho Oso. The land is 156 acres, and it's accessed through the National Forest Plan. There's an easement road for access. The use is intended to be a wellness and hiking, I won't call it resort, but retreat might be the better way to describe it. The facility is intended to house 18 guests in 3 buildings. Those are the 3 that you can kind of tell have, if someone can point for me, the 3 groups that have 6 rooms each. Okay. There's a gear room that is for storing hiking backpacks. That's that little room right in the middle. Down there, that. There's a dining room and lounge that's straight up on the drawing. Those 2 that are across a small deck. No, down there. Those 2 that is actually just 2 dining tables and then a space for lounging after hiking all day. There's a deck between them that connects them. And then below that, farther down grade, there is a spa on the left. Move your cursor up and to the left. Sorry, farther to the left. That's okay there. A spa and a consultation and gym facility across, again, a decked over area for a gym, yoga studio. Directly on axis with that, the round thing is a swimming pool, which will be frankly, a galvanized water storage tank. Finally, at the very bottom of the drawing on the left is a maintenance facility and offices and a battery storage for 100, battery and maintenance area. The project is off-grid, and consequently, we have 150 kilowatt solar array, which is sort of on top of, but not on top, it's near the top of the small rise in the existing cleared area. It's about at the very bottom of the strong. Move your cursor there to the rectangle. It says solar array 2000.
Yep.
Okay, there's a solar array placed there. No trees will be cut down for that, nor is it visible from anywhere below. Obviously, it would be visible from birds or someone higher up on the slope. All of the roads on the property are existing roads. They've been improved and regraded in some places to comply with the requirements of the fire marshal, with whom we've met on multiple occasions to make sure that we're, in sync with them. We'll also be using, there are some freshwater storage tanks that are right above those 2 circles that are right above the solar array, and the swimming pool has reservoirs for fire suppression. As for parking off to the right of this drawing, you can see there's sort of a scattered parking arrangement, which is fitted between the trees. We're parking those cars for both employees and guests without killing a tree. Then as for the buildings, all the buildings are designed to be totally fire resistant. That is 0 combustibles on the exterior of the buildings. They're carefully fitted into the oak forest so that the 10,932 square feet building and roads only going to have to kill 8 of the healthy trees. But the facility does take advantage of the views, but we do it while we're strictly adhering to the height limitations, setbacks, and lighting ordinances. And then finally, we've been, I'm sure you don't know anything about me, but I've spent my whole career trying to develop projects that have a benign relationship to the living world. This one is not unlike any of those other projects. We've worked very diligently to minimize impact and to, let's say, coexist with that living world. And most importantly for me is to arrange it in a way that connects people who use the facility to the beauty of that place. So that's all that I can say about this project. Okay. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's scroll down. Go to A10, so we have some visuals on how it's working. These are all the required drawings. We don't need to go through those. You just blow up so you can get detail. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's farther down. Go to just keep going down the group. There are some rendered cross sections, and keep going down. There you go. There, go to that. Oh, back up a bit. Back up. There. As you can see, we had originally, and this goes back to the comments that you noticed from the last hearing, we originally had tipped all of the roofs up in the opposite direction so that we could use the roofs for solar arrays. There was clearly an objection to being above the height limitation. So what we did is we put in a solar array up the hill in an already clear area and tipped all the roofs down so that they met all the height restrictions. These are two of the buildings. Let's keep going now. We intend to have, let's just keep going down. Down. We'll get to some sections. Oh, there we go. This is the gear building. It's the only one we've tipped up because it's tiny, 12'6" for the height. Keep going down. There are the those yoga buildings. Keep going down. There are a couple of sections that, there we go. That one. This gives some sense of the construction, the building. The lower drawing, the building on the left is the dining, two dining tables. The staircase is all metal, the decks are all metal. And the building below is the spa building, and you can see the galvanized water tank for our swimming pool. And then go down one more or two more, I think. Keep going down. So, in any case, you can see these buildings are all the metal siding. Keep going down. I have a much shorter presentation to you than at the last minute. I was told I couldn't present from my drawings. Anyhow, this is the opposite direction, seeing the small lounge building in the upper area and access to a sauna and steam room, and then farther behind that, a yoga studio. So I think that comes quite close to the end. Let's see what we got at the very bottom here. Yeah, that's it. So that's visual description, the verbal description of the project.
Okay.
And then Willow recommended that I bring photos of the public view so you can see what visuals this might have an impact on the public. We didn't submit them in time to be part of this, but I have them, so I'll pass them around. The summary is that
Can you hold them up?
It's
loud and conceptual.
Sure.
Are they the ones, are they these?
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so if they're these, then let's just use these.
Sure, yeah,
Because
perfect.
everybody can see these best.
There's 7 photos, and
Yes.
so they're along the public road. This is public Paradise Road. It then peels off. So if you go to the next photo, that's now becoming private Paradise Road, which is
causing some confusion with the county, but that is effectively Rancho Oso's private driveway.
Okay.
And we have a shared agreement for the beginning of that. This is still some quarter mile north of our property. This is as soon as you turn on, and then this is up the road. This is where our driveway starts.
And yours is which one?
We're peeling off to the right.
Right, okay.
And again, this is our easement through the forest, so our property line is still a good couple hundred yards uphill from this. So,
Next one.
technically guests, of either Rancho Oso or ours are the ones that are permitted on that road. This is going back up towards, Rancho Oso, and this to me is what kind of says it all about visuals is, as mentioned, there are existing ranch structures. The tallest is a barn that houses a tractor and all. It has a shipping container under it. I measured it at 18 feet. So we're proposing a maximum of 16 feet, and you literally can't see any of this stuff. So if you go to the next photo, you'll see what's hiding underneath these 50-foot valley oaks and blue oaks and coast live oaks. So that's an 18-foot ranch structure.
Okay.
Again, there's some turkeys roosting in there. That's one of our nicest trees. It's a valley oak. So we've built around these. That's a map of the photos. I effectively tried to encircle our development proposal site with photos. Both 1 and 2 are public road. 3, 4, 5 are on Rancho Oso's private drive. And then the next photo is zoomed in on photos 6 and 7, which are directly adjacent to that building.
The 2 structures, okay, very coherent, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Do we have any public comment?
Let's see. If you're online, wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Not seeing any public comment.
You two are the only warm bodies besides us, so I'm gonna say no. You don't have anything to add? Okay.
Alex, I was just gonna mention the landscape plan.
Okay.
I think is in the set, if you can go back.
Yeah, the last just 2 or 3 sheets. So as Jim mentioned, we are slated to take out 8 healthy trees, predominantly for widening the road for fire code. And
I
then
don't see it, Brett.
Don't see it?
This is it.
Well, there's a lighting somewhere.
There's lighting in here, but I didn't see any landscape.
Or maybe the appended landscape didn't, I can summarize it, it's pretty straightforward. We're trying to support native plantings, and we have a tree mitigation strategy that is proposing planting 65 trees, which a good handful that my kids and I have already planted to get a head start.
That's the lighting.
Okay, so 13 trees are proposed for removal. It's a range of coast live oak, absolutely zero valley or blue oak. We designed around those with the strictest standards, and then 2 scrub oaks. So we are planting a mix. We did a biologist report with Larry Hunt. We are proposing a 5-to-1 replanting ratio and a mix. So both the scrub oaks as well as coast live oaks, blue oaks, and valley oaks. So to support diversity of the tree species.
Oh, Alex?
Yep.
So what it is that of the 13 trees, 5 have been deemed unhealthy and not going to survive by an arborist. So there's only 8 healthy trees we're talking about. Right?
Right, we had Duke McPherson come out and we did a full assessment. We had already surveyed every single tree before we started designing, because we knew from the beginning, the design intent was to work in harmony with the forest. And then for aesthetic plantings, it's all native, so trying to restore native grasses. This parcel, to the best of my knowledge, has once been grazed, and so they put in invasive rye and other grasses, so we want to try and plant and support native grasses. So the entire ethos of this project is to be a nature emergent, to help people heal in nature, and to do that with all native species and respecting the forest and the healing powers of the forest.
All right. Okay, still no public comment?
No.
Okay. Anybody want to start?
Can I ask some questions?
Yes, absolutely.
I know, given the context, this might seem absurd, but can you talk about what the setback is from the property line?
Sure, the required setback, I think, is 10 feet. Okay, yeah, literally that line is the national forest boundary, so we've been, yeah, we're back from that, more than 10 feet.
Yeah, this is 1/32, so the graphic scale at the bottom.
Got it. Could you talk about the fire resistant materials and just the general materials you're proposing on using on the structures in general? It seemed like corrugated metal, but the way it was sketched, it kind of looks like wood siding on some of them.
Yeah,
No, I'll answer this one. It probably, it'll either be core, hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
speak loudly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. The materials right now are either going to be corrugated or snap block. More likely than not, core 10 if we can afford it, because it's 22 gauge and it's more heat resistant than the 24 gauge standard baked enamel, and the baked enamel can burn. So we're thinking it's going to be core 10. The roofs are going to be core 10, which, if you don't know, is a metal that will rust and then it stops rusting. We have discovered over the years that it has a really good tendency to fit in relatively invisibly. Obviously the windows are glass. The decks at this point are aluminum. They're anodized aluminum decking. All the structure is steel. The undersides of the buildings that will be insulated will have, again, core 10 sheet steel on the underside. We feel strongly in our firm that you build things based on not style, but on tangible reality. And the tangible reality of your climate is that at some point, some things are going to burn. And that we ought to, from day one, let that nature of that ecosystem be described by the way we do the building. Building should respond to the nature of the place, and therefore, in many ways, amplify its nature. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
And are you anywhere near Snyder Trail or Arroyo Burrow?
Yeah, Snyder goes through the property, actually. So
Can you point it out on that satellite image?
On one of the, it's west of those.
Okay.
You can see it from A1. Yeah, you can see Snyder on that first sheet. It's west of that.
Go to the first sheet in the set.
Given the topography, you can see pretty much the whole valley from Snyder, so you can certainly see this property. From Snyder, you cannot see any of the existing structures, but you would certainly see the solar, right? That's
Which part of that do you want to look at? For showing Snyder?
Sure, yeah, if you go up to the top, it'll be a little bit easier. So this is Lewis Canyon, so that defines the eastern side of Snyder Ridge. So Snyder Ridge is going to be west of that canyon.
Got it, okay.
Yeah,
thanks, sure, the context.
Okay.
And last question, I know I'm taking up a lot of time, is the trees, I know they're well surveyed. If you were to transpose a canopy boundary or something over your site plan, would it just blur out the whole thing, or critical root zones?
We did a full arbor report. Willow has it. We did it with Duke, full critical root zone mapping. And that's how we came up with our mitigation number, based off of encroachment. As you noticed, pretty much all of the foundations, except for buildings specifically outside of a critical root zone, are pin pile. So we are trying to minimize damage to the roots, and as Duke has instructed us, you can locate those foundations and avoid critical roots.
Okay.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, and in our planting, we've also proposed in the arbor report a planting location, very specifically chosen, me and Duke walking around to fill in the exposed, because as we're learning about this forest, it is the openings that are destroying it. The sun is then allowed in and burns the south-facing trunks.
Right.
So in order for us to champion the health of this forest, we want to also place buildings in those openings to act as shade, but also plants such that canopies fill in any openings in the canopy.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is there a well?
Sorry?
Are you on well water?
No, we would be proposing to dig one.
Can we go to any of the pages with either sections or elevations?
Yeah, go to the first section sheet.
You need to zoom out. Well, actually, no, you don't. Scroll down a little. This one's not gonna work. Go to, yeah. Down a little. That one on the bottom, right there. That west elevation, that'll work really great. Okay, so the way the hillside ridgeline calculation is done, and I'm gonna have to stand up, so you're gonna have to adjust your point. So what you do is, this is your grade, existing grade. You take that and project it 16 feet in the air. And your building has to fit below that.
Yep. No,
So-
I can see these dimension lines are drawn in the wrong place. If you put a scale on these drawings, if you come straight down from the eave, it's 16 feet.
Well, let me just finish what I'm saying. To prove compliance, the dimensions are great. That works great, but to prove compliance, what you need to show is that line up here. Okay, and that's true for all of them. You can scroll down, go to the next one. And it's helpful when you do have these dimension lines, because that really kind of sets it for us. But even here, you should be showing how this is, and if this is a cut for your pool or whatever that is, if that's cut, you need to show an existing where it continues now, current, and then you need to show that projection so that you get that all in there. That is how you show compliance, okay? And it gets really tricky because, of course, it's like your blanket after you've gotten up out of bed and thrown the covers back, it kind of goes like this. So when you do that projection, there's no way to show that orthographically, in a 2D sheet of paper. So you have to be really, you have to suss out those little corners where you maybe not getting some compliance. I was looking at some of these, some of the existing grade, and so everybody kind of chooses how they show the projection, but oftentimes when you're on a slope, you have to kind of show, you have to take that section, you have to cut a section, or you have to do something different so that you're establishing that you're meeting compliance all the way through the building. So there's tricky ways to figure it out. I've seen some people do some really nifty 3D stuff on the computer, but that's not necessary. Yeah, simple 2D
Offset.
demonstration, and you just need to show that it complies, okay? And that's what you show compliance for us. I noticed on your tree protection, can you go to the tree plan when we've got the inventories? Yeah, it's gonna be up. That's good.
This one?
Yep. You can see, first of all, I wear glasses. This is incredibly difficult to read, okay? So when you're doing your dimensions, just a heads up, it's nice if you make them big enough when they're on the screen that we can read them when we're sitting. The other thing here is, this is key. It's accurate, but of course, but this is really hard to find. When I'm looking at this screen, so you're removing this healthy tree and you're removing that sick tree, I can't see that. They need to be big red blobs, right? So that when I look at this, I look at this as a PDF when I prep for my hearing. I look and I go, oh, that one, and I can count all the ones you're removing, right? So make it really graphically clear to us where the removals are, because I don't have the time to sit and
Add that to this, it's in the Arbor report.
You
but add that to
can,
this.
yeah, I take what you've got in the arborist report and somehow make it graphically pop.
Okay.
It's kind of the reverse intuitively. I mean, the trees are going away, so we tend not to draw. But for us, just so we can tick our box and move on, it's a graphic standard. It'll work really, really helpful for me. And I think the only other thing we've got, unless anybody else has any other comments, is talking about a site visit. Anybody else have any other comments? Andrew, you asked questions, but did you have any
No, I
comments?
didn't I think the architecture's charming and nice, and I think you can when I look at those elevations and all the north facing windows and stuff, I can feel the light that's gonna be in the rooms and things like that, which is neither here nor there, but I admire that you're respecting the site conditions and environmental conditions to let those things dictate where the buildings are going and what they're doing, and that's all you can hope for. I think the devil's in the details with this language of building and buildings. And I know you've got a qualified team, and I'm just, you know, excited and anxious to get to that point where we're able to dive into that more.
Yeah, it's a very exciting project. I'm really looking at it. I would, go back to the arborist report. I noticed you've got buildings that are like right up against some of those trees. I mean, you're talking inches. And that's great. The couple of them, the roof lines especially, see the couple of those oaks are real close. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see and with your foundations and how you're working in the critical root zone and everything as you move forward. It's an exciting project to me.
Can I make a comment?
Well, I'm trying to get my board comments so that we can go to the next project. So let me just hold off there. Anything else?
I'm good with it. I like everything.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Chris, all right,
We're
yeah, I think you have a lot of support. We will need to do a site visit. Do we want to do a full board or what? How many, your architect here, what's your square footage on, buildings, development?
10,932 square feet.
You just ticked it. It requires, it's gonna be a full site visit. Where is my site visit? That's why I bring the binder.
You mean after 25 years?
This one's not that old. This one's only 20 years old. Seriously, these are the original bylaws for the BAR. So, okay, site visit between 3 or more, okay, let's get to that. Commercial. Is this solely a business? There's no residents on site?
No residents.
It's hazy. We could get away with only a couple of people if we wanted to. All new commercial and industrial projects with a development area or floor area of 15,000 square feet or greater require quorum. Additions to commercial and industrial projects where the area of the new development or the new floor area is 10,000 square feet or greater, or when the additional development area or floor area is added to the existing development area or floor area, the total development area or floor area equals or exceeds 15,000 square feet. So it kind of falls in that hazy area.
We could go if you want.
Do you want to do
Do a baby
I have no
version.
skin in this game, you know, we can ask 2 people to go out and take a look.
Up to you because of the specific guideline.
No, I think we can, because it's not residential, so we're looking at the other 2 categories. So it's between 10 and 15,000, so technically we're under 15, so we could send 2 people out to take a look.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd like to go.
Me
You wanna go?
Yeah, me too.
You 2 wanna go?
Sure.
Okay. All right,
Get some healing.
I'd love to go see it too, but I'm not gonna make
it's a
that
wonderful place to be.
a requirement. Or maybe I'll coordinate with Angie and Brett and I'll go out separately from you guys. So, but if you 2 are our official ears and eyes, that'd be great.
Love to.
Okay.
Is that with staking or is?
I think, if you want, I can go out and look, but I really don't see how story poles are gonna help us out.
No.
It's all under the canopy.
No. Staking maybe, general.
Yeah, some general staking
I
would be
did it
nice.
for Jim last time he visited.
Perfect.
I can do it again.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing too crazy, just.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly where this stuff is.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so staking would work
Okay.
great and.
Sure.
and-
Cool,
and that'll
okay,
work.
we'll make.
Okay,
we'll coordinate.
so, it'll be what we call an informal site visit, meaning that it's not full board, it does not need to occur on the day of the hearing.
Okay.
And so you and Brett or Angie and these two, they'll coordinate with these two.
Okay.
Just contact the planner
Okay,
and, we'll get you some contact info for Chris and Andrew.
great.
And the two of them can meet you out there on site together.
Is Willow still on? Does she need to be there?
No,
No.
she does not. Willow does not need to be present. If she'd like to be, she can, but it's not required. And we're not looking at story poles. We're looking at some staking to get kind of a general feeling of the mass of where you're going to be locating buildings. I understand it's pretty steep, so that's probably all that's really necessary to get a good idea and a feel for the site, so.
So
Okay.
this is a CUP, so planning commission, so can we talk about next meeting, what you'd like to, can we come back for preliminary?
If you can get the site visit, you're gonna go to planning commission, so it's semantics about whether you come for preliminary or not. We're gonna wanna take the project to a preliminary level. We can't give you preliminary before the planning commission takes their action, okay? Just so you know, he knows that. We can't take our preliminary action till you go to the planning commission. After you've gone to the planning commission, you come back to us and then we're ready. But we like to take the project to the point where we would be comfortable with a preliminary level action. I think accomplish the site visit, get those heights shown on the plans, and you know what I'm looking for, okay? So just make sure that's what's in there. And then, like Andrew says, for preliminary, we're gonna be looking at some more detailing kinds of things, so we're gonna wanna know how your windows, your doors, and all that, and so, so kind of take the drawings to that next level, however that is accomplished.
Lighting.
And we're gonna wanna see, well, they've got their lighting, we looked at it briefly. It was very quick. Do you wanna see it?
No, okay. Just wanted to make sure they're all good.
I had no problems with the lighting. I think especially under that canopy, I think you're fine. I think you're gonna find that you don't need as much as you think you do.
Okay.
Because, I mean, like, for some of that extra parking on the loop where the fire trucks turn around, you've got a spot at the head of each, I think you're gonna find you don't need that many.
Can they be motion activated?
And that's, I think you're probably gonna, I mean, you could do that. And you're certainly not gonna want them, actually, that's a great idea to have the circuit, on some kind of a motion sensor, so until a car comes in, they don't light up. Yeah, I think you're gonna find that what happens is when you're under a canopy like that, at least personally, when you're under a canopy like that, your eyes are already adjusted. And so, yeah, you get out of a car and you've got headlights and stuff, but your eyes are gonna be dark. And then if you've got that lighting, it just takes longer for that adjustment to occur. And so your eyes are gonna see pretty well anyway. I think you're gonna find that you probably don't need quite as many as everything. And you might find you need a couple in a couple of other locations, but the buildings look nicely done to me. So, all right. Well, I'm glad we checked the site visit.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
It's very an interesting project.
Quick clarification, is the project gonna return for further conceptual or? prelim?
Yes, because the planning commission will need to take an action. We won't agendize it for preliminary, although we are asking the applicant to take it to that level prior to the planning commission.
Thank you.
Can agendize for a combo?
No, we don't. We only agendize if we're actually going to take the action.
Got it.
So it would be further conceptual. Just so members of the public are not confused about what's actually gonna happen, because we can't take that preliminary action. Or I suppose we could, and then we could throw the whole cart and horse and everything into a furrow, but no, we don't do that. So, okay, so you want me to do item 5? We're gonna skip item number 4 until after we've heard item number 5 because of a scheduling conflict for the applicant. So we're gonna take item number 5, 24 Bar, lots of zeros 2, Landon Equestrian, and San Ynez. And I think,
Open this down, I just didn't hear Jim, so we.
Yeah, please.
Do you want me to turn on the air?
That's still stuck in.
no, oh, well, are you,
Well, he can, if the door's
Yeah.
open, the door open.
yeah.
We could turn on the AC now.
Yeah.
Oxygen in here.
We just need some air.
You're sucking it up there, no offense.
It's a wonder I keep doing this.
Yes, it is.
I told you it's the pay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the pay that hasn't been raised since 2000?
Yes.
Yeah, that one. Actually, I think it was a little less than that. Yeah, this is a new project.
No,
He's
we
gonna-
can be at 125. That gave us a raise to 150.
50, yeah, and I think that was somewhere between 2000 and 2010.
Back when Evans was on board.
Yeah. So, this parcel is a 50-acre parcel, an interior lot, between, I can just point over here. So here's, the north part of Edison, here's 154, and then baseline here. So you come, there's an easement across this property to the property.
Okay.
Again, 50 acres, it's an equestrian property, and this is a huge arena, 45,000 square foot covered arena. So it's a commercial equestrian Arabian horse training facility. Teresa, I think there's some pictures, that might be yeah, so this property to the west, so Edison is over here, same ownership, also horse operations. So we're looking at development on the western boundary, on the neighboring property. So, yeah, no problem. Across from this barn, basically down in here is going to be the arena in the middle of this pasture. And if you go to the next one, Teresa, would be great. So, and then just different views from where you're sitting at the arena looking back. So this is looking back to the northeast, really. There's an olive ranch to the north. This is looking south. Again, I don't think you really can see it from anywhere. And then this is looking back north, and then you have that olive tree ranch, western boundary being here. It's a metal building, 30 feet tall. The site's flat, and there's pastures developed around it. If we can just go through, so again, existing development, you come in here off the baseline, there are 2 farm employee dwellings, other ranch buildings, a reservoir, the well is here. These are all irrigated pastures, fenced. And then we are currently building a large equipment ag storage building, which the only reason, I should have mentioned this, the only reason we go to CBAR is because this is a development plan. It's not hillside ridge line, it's not design control overlay. It's just because of the size of the building, we were required to do a development plan. And they're the design review. But this is a large building that's under construction now, and then the arena will be here.
And that permit was over the counter basically because it was a
Correct.
ag?
Yeah, yeah.
And what materials, do you have any pictures of that building?
No, it's,
Or
we're just digging the foundation right now. Same steel building company, so it'll match.
Keep going.
So we do have, details, spring and lighting and all that. colors.
Are you doing a swale? Is that, how's that around that one? Yeah,
Yeah,
is that, but it's just a earth swale?
yeah. So the grading is completed for this building. And then now we're working, this project is below.
Okay, so this is the building that you were just talking about having already,
Correct, that we just got rough grade on it, and we're getting, the building permit has been issued, we're just
Right.
getting ready to start the foundation.
right, got it.
Right, did you say that the owners own more than that 50-acre parcel?
Correct, yeah, if we, they own the property directly to the west, which is, I think it's 20 acres, that's on North Edison.
That fronts North Edison?
Correct, yeah,
Go back to the first page.
yeah, so they own, this property here, so again, here's Edison, they own that property, and then
But the access is not off of Edison?
no, I mean, they do use that, but their legal access comes through this parcel with an easement.
And where's baseline again on this?
Baseline is right there,
Okay, so this is north of baseline.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right near the corner of
And
basement.
where's the Olive Grove? there?
Olive Grove is just to the north. Actually, this property was developed with about 25 acres of olives under previous ownership, and this client, when he purchased it, ripped all the olives out. So they're still to the north.
Yeah, interesting, okay.
To the ridge,
Take it
30 feet to the ridge.
30 feet to the ridge, yeah.
Go down to the,
And because it's ag, you can go that up.
There is no height limit in Ag 2 for an agricultural building.
there you go, you might wanna zoom in on that.
Is there a practical reason why it has to be 30 feet tall?
I think it's just the span, because it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
And at the edges, to have the horse clearance on the edges is where you're starting from, and then
So what are the dimensions of the building?
Good question. I think we probably, Teresa, sorry, we probably need to go back to those,
Go up
to
one.
the floor plan.
One
Yeah,
more.
here we go. So
That's
the
the
roof
roof.
area, 300 by 150.
Yeah, that's what he has on the floor plan.
Doubles as a football field, there's 2 football
Yeah.
Ish. It's not that, it's wider than a football field.
Is there parking on site?
Yes.
Oh, you're just 200 feet.
There's a site plan.
Oh,
But it's wider.
No, it's 150 by 300.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, well, there's a lot of parking here, for the existing operations, and then we are proposing, parking here, and there is parking for this building, and then you'll see our, hammerheads for the fire department.
Yeah, are there, events proposed for this?
That's an excellent question. We are under the Ag Enterprise Ordinance now, which just got adopted. So typically, it's a boarding facility, so visitors will come. So he doesn't have any events, but we are gonna be proposing some events as part of this. Certain number to fall under there's certain tiers in the AEO that we wanna stay under the zoning clearance portion of that.
And what type of horses did you say?
Arabian.
Is this where they have the horse trials now, south of baseline, place south of baseline?
Further down and south, that's Shepherd.
I wonder what those horses did to come on trial. Sorry.
Hey, at least they didn't, they haven't come before us and accused us of killing their horses. That's happened before.
Do you have a color scheme or?
Next meeting, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what's the one that's under construction?
I actually don't know that.
Come on now.
that is a big building.
Oops.
What are you gonna do for drainage?
Why don't I know that?
That's
Drainage?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we go to the
That's a
grading,
little bit of a swale in there.
church.
yeah, that's on the grading plan, is that swale around it.
Yep.
Buildings, because it's very flat.
Actually, you got two swales, one for the barn and one for the,
Yeah.
this. Okay, well, I think we can all agree this is over 15,000 square feet,
Yeah. 3 times that.
which means that per our bylaws, we have to go as a full board. Look,
Take a look.
which kind of sucks cheese, but,
It's near where I live, so it won't be a problem.
oh, I see. All right, we'll meet you there.
You know, I didn't ask if Steve, is Steve online? Steve Connors our plan.
Let me just make sure.
And
He's not.
Okay.
Since it's looked theoretically flat, the cut and fill calculations, are those accurate?
Yeah, it's like, 2,100 and 1,500 to fill or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it's to develop the site, to give water around and some of the driveway stuff too.
Are they still calculating remove and recompact on all those numbers?
If you go below 3 feet, yeah.
But do you have to do that for the entire site, even though it's equestrian in the middle?
Yeah, I mean, because it's commercial, we have to do all that, yeah. But we'll get a building permit.
Right.
Okay, so next time, do you have any other comments?
No,
Then we do not have any public comment either.
not yet, but we will. What should I say?
No, no,
Okay, so no public comment. Next time, it looks like we're gonna need a site visit. So, but I'm not sure how useful.
What?
Could you put one pole up, tie a big ass flag to it or something so that we can just see the height?
Okay. You want one on each end, maybe?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just on the.
Two ends.
Just on the ridge line.
Just so that we can, when we drive on Baseline in Edison, we can look back and go, yeah, can't see it.
Yeah, right.
2 poles, each gable end.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, and then stake the corners.
Steve.
So that-
Site visit next month?
Yeah, yeah, whenever you guys come back.
Okay.
And it is, my rule about site visits is we'll do one. We will take a second request for a site visit if they're reasonably close and I feel we can accomplish it in a reasonable amount of time, but it's solely at my discretion.
Okay.
So
Do you have one next month already scheduled? Do you know? Okay.
we do not.
Mm.
She's the expert.
Right.
So, yeah,
We will work towards that, trying to get it
so
done.
that's, so best to get stuff back in.
Yeah.
We're gonna wanna see your colors, so if you put together a color board, that would be great. But if you do put together a physical color board, please also, take a picture and submit it with the documents
Okay.
so that it's part of our submittal as a photograph. I would like some more information on the other building. It's not a part of our review, so this is totally on you whether you decide to submit it or not. But if you send us a rendered elevation or even just an elevation in the colors, that would be great, so that we can see what's gonna be directly adjacent to it. Because I'm assuming your color selection is gonna be predicated on whatever that one is.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't know the color. We've got a building permit, but maybe the building division didn't ask for color or the planner.
Maybe there's no color,
It's
it's
just
just
a-
metal.
It's
Metal color.
Giraffe.
Zero color. So that'll be that. Do pay attention to your reflectivity,
Okay.
because that's gonna be the other question that could potentially be, that's gonna be something we're gonna be wanting to know, depending on how visible it is, obviously. And what you're doing on the other structure.
Yeah, the roof is gonna be important.
Yeah, the roof will be.
Light orange or something.
So, did we have any architectural comments, anything about the doors?
Well,
No,
we haven't seen anything yet, so.
Yeah, well, there was elevations. We'll look at the elevation real quick.
It's big.
They're big, yeah. I think it's all
That was
gonna
probably the best
depend.
part
I
of
think
it.
any other comments we might have are gonna be predicated on what the other building looks like and what colors you choose
Okay.
at this point.
That's half the size of this.
So,
One of those big.
You know.
You said it was Hawaii.
and I don't think anybody's jumping up and down about the fact that there's no eaves and it's a metal building and, you know, I mean, no, none of those are things that just excite the socks off of us, so.
45.
make sure the pole is to the 23, 30 seconds of an inch, so.
Yeah, certify it. Okay, and if you are raising, you know,
Yes.
take that into calculation, just make sure it's accurate representation of where the structure will actually wind up. I don't know how many times I've talked to people and they've put up poles and it's been like, anyway. Okay, Alan would be poking me if he was sitting closer, so. All right, I think that's it.
Okay.
That one was pretty quick. I tried to drag it out, but I only got to 12:30, so.
Not a half an hour worth.
So is it further? Or,
Yeah, return for further conceptual with a site visit. Although, you know, any details you're gonna show us, you can go ahead and throw them in. It's pretty
Okay.
simple on this building.
Yeah. This one also is a PC, so that's
Yeah.
about as far as we can go.
Yep, that'll be as far as we can go.
Okay.
And do take pictures for the planning commission when the polls are up.
Okay.
And you might see if the planner wants to come out, check them out too.
Is there a landscape plan on this? Does it need one?
Well, it's kind of up to us. I'm reserving judgment on landscaping until we see where the other barn is and what this is and what your circulation path and do, that is the one thing I would encourage you to do. Make sure that it's very clear what you're treating differently, you know, where that swale is. I mean, you're gonna have to do something in the swale, obviously, for erosion. So, you know, go ahead and throw that in, might as well. Good catch.
Okay, sorry, one more question. This is more than a covered arena because it's enclosed on all four sides, is that correct?
Yeah.
Uh,
You wanna go to the floor plan?
no,
Oh.
I was just gonna comment or make a comment that Huck and I did a covered arena, landscaped around a covered arena on Edison between 154 and town. And you can barely see it now.
Yeah.
So I think you might have your client consider some landscaping around that,
Okay.
because this is really out there and big flat plain.
Yeah.
So,
Do sequoias grow around this area?
They do,
but
not native.
Probably what you're gonna need.
I'd like to, look at that when we're out there, because it is all, the property line to the west has some trees on it, and it is all pasture around it.
right,
And I did that arena,
Yeah.
On Edison.
Yes,
and you're right, it kind of has disappeared.
yeah, it's amazing how actually,
Yeah.
how it's
Yeah.
hard to even see it.
Yeah, so,
Don't we always, it was 25 years ago.
Yeah, no, but I understand, I've seen that, it looks nice. Don't we always say you can't use landscaping to?
yeah,
I can see Plex sitting here right now, so this is agricultural.
well, it's, no, you cannot just build just whatever you want, and it's just like I told the solar panel on the earlier project today. Landscaping is considered ephemeral, so it's nice and can be very helpful in hiding a structure, but the structure has to stand on its own. And, any prefab kind of building, it's, when we start looking at the details, we still have to make our findings, about the detailing around, do you have sills or are these just like, and there's no eaves and, I mean, how do you make it look a little bit better? And
Half timber.
it is, well, I've seen people put, do the metal and then put hardy plank in between to give it some
Brett, let me ask you a
breakdown.
question.
But it's, yeah,
Madam Chair, what are the, briefly, very briefly, because it's an ag building, what is it that they're, I don't know how to word this so it comes out right. What is it that you're allowed to do that we wouldn't have necessarily allow somebody building a 4-car garage?
You mean before you would get design review or
Yeah.
just on the plan? Well, so for instance, the building before, you can go up to like 15,000 square feet is before development plan is triggered, or if total site development goes up, in this case, would be probably 25,000 to 30,000 square feet before it would trigger that. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for how the size of the building. That's the only reason that we're.
So it triggered a development plan.
Yeah.
And how does the ag enterprise affect this?
Yeah, it really doesn't.
No.
You still have to do the development plan. There's nothing in the AEO that would allow this to be exempt or a zoning clearance or a lower tier of process.
Okay.
Any word from Lori? So our architect, I think, is in this meeting from 12 to 1, but I think we can go to it, and I don't know if Kendall can get on or.
Yeah, I can present on Rory's behalf.
Item number 4, 23 bar 00160, more new single-family dwelling. And the comments from last time were nice interpretation, the posted beam style, good sighting. Appreciate the pathways around the ADU. Consider that there's a tight turn into the small garage that may be inconvenient for the owner. The proposed stonework is overly light. Use darker earth tones for the stone. Story poles will be required. The C-bar chair and a second C-bar room will visit the site. This sounds like this is like one back.
I agree. I don't think that those are more recent comments.
This was the
Post-site
first
visit,
time.
Yeah, after the December.
Because in December, we
We
had
did
a
light
different
stone.
set.
Right.
As I was reading them, I thought, not quite right.
Also, if I could, well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there. I know it's past lunchtime and all things, so thank you for your perseverance through everything. I guess just for the record, I'm Angela James and I'm with Jones Lanes Planning as well. And I also did want to note that through the, from when we heard in September into the December hearing, there was an adjustment to the building that maybe didn't get picked up because we were talking quite a bit about the siding of the structure itself and the skylining issue and all of those things. The pool cabana is now incorporated into the residence. So when you look at the project description that is in the agenda, it says a residence and then a separate pool cabana. And so I just wanted to remark that between the September and the December meetings, the pool cabana had been separate. It was incorporated into the building. And now the actual residence structure, which includes that sort of piece, is a smaller structure overall. So not only was it relocated back off the hillside, which Kendall will go into in greater detail and eventually perhaps Rory, but the building itself is smaller than it was when you guys first saw it in September.
Okay, I have the minutes. Challenging site, more opportunity towards the garden area and pasture area, meaning for moving the structure. Appreciate the importance of darker colors, structures within view sheds. Story pole prominence is troubling as it indicates a significant portion of the structure skylines. Board suggests applicant meet with the planner to review skyline policy. Building appears perched at the top of the slope. Restudy the site plan to minimize visual prominence from Ballard Canyon Road. So it was basically all about that site.
Correct. So we did exchange correspondence with Adam Orta, who's our planner, who I believe is the person who is largely responsible for understanding the skyline issue and whether or not it's being resolved through.
He makes the finding.
Yes, through the reiteration of what has been adjusted here. And from our perspective, Adam's responded favorably to the changes that have been made. I don't know, can you tell, Teresa, if he's on?
Yes, he is online.
Oh, so Adam, of course, can speak to that.
Adam, do you want to speak to the? It's not in that file.
I found,
In the other one. Yep. I think this would be helpful because it shows you different.
Right, the change that was made, thanks.
Adam, are you on?
Did we lose him?
I'll message him and see if he's online.
Okay.
If you'd like to, there's a more clear diagram in the other file on page A102.
Okay.
On this one?
There should be an updated set of drawings. It should be.
I don't know if I saw that updated set.
We submitted to Adam last Friday, he confirmed on Monday that it had gone forward, so I was hoping that that all happened.
Well, I have 3 files. I have a letter. I have site plan options, which is that one. And I have that illustrative one. That's all we have in our box.
Oh, well,
Okay.
we should be able to move ahead with that.
There's 2 options. I mean, if you flip back and forth on this, there's a second page to this one. I mean, see where it kind of slides around, but that's the site plan options. There's a letter, and then there's the illustrative.
Okay.
That's all we have.
Oh, okay. That'll. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll move ahead with that.
Sorry.
Yeah, there were some renderings and
There's a
additional
complete
images.
plan set that wasn't in box.
Yeah.
We gave to Adam on Friday, and I got a confirmation on Monday that it had been uploaded, so I was going with that it had occurred.
So it hasn't been made public.
Correct.
And Adam will be jumping on shortly. He's having microphone problems.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
okay.
I think this is enough to get started. And this sheet that you have here kind of illustrates what we're looking to do. So since the last hearing, we pulled the project approximately 25 feet, 10 inches further from the bluff. And we also reduced the overall length of the building by about 21 foot, 3 inches. By taking some square footage out of the building. We did this both to protect the oak tree that was discovered during the staking exercise, and also to mitigate the skylining issue. I wish I had the renderings. Architecturally, we adjusted the floor plan so that it creates kind of a courtyard now that looks out through the oak tree and captures the view. Which, when the owner realized that there was an oak tree, he was very amenable to keeping it and to protecting, he's drawn to the natural beauty of the area. So this was an easy thing for him to wrap his head around that. Yeah, of course, we're going to protect that. Additionally, we shrank the pool by about 20 feet to, again, protect the oak tree and kind of create an axis with the oak tree and really emphasize it for the design. Additionally, so as we moved the building back, we moved the show garage further south about, I had the number, pretty considerably further south so that we could get a second access straight into the residence to make, his daily use of the site easier. And with the show garage, we removed the second story. I think that was the previous hearing. We removed the second story and instead just have a view deck where he can, view the sunsets kind of to the southwest. Also for, to address skylining, if you'll go to the illustrative site plan, the landscape plan. We were looking at including some native plantings, kind of mid-height native plantings to, to de-emphasize the structure at the top of the hill. And we've removed the vineyard portion from the project. And what we found as we've kind of looked around the area is that the vineyards really kind of emphasize the skylining, because that mid-height planting, in the long view is gone. So all that you get is kind of low vineyard planting. So we feel this will go a long way towards kind of reducing that skylining effect. And then maybe Kevin has more to.
Yeah, I mean, I could just speak to that as well. So yeah, we preserved and added trees to mitigate the skylining effect. We also found that, like, further north on the page, there's a clump of trees down at the bottom, and that it was associated with a location of some water. So, and we have a kind of a poetic stormwater management idea for the water to be distributed to here. So we thought we would add more trees along that course of water to continue the ribbon. And those trees will start to kind of obfuscate the views from below, or screen the house from below more effectively. Obviously, like Kendall said, we saved this tree here. We also had a big clump of trees on the front of the house that we're saving them by not touching the soil, and we've designed some low walls that are similar to the other walls on the property that would allow those trees to remain intact without any grading underneath them. So I just want to expound on what Kendall just said.
Okay. Is the green line along the fence just for kind of highlighting the fence, or is that meant to be a hedge of some sort?
Oh, this line here is just the fence, just highlighting the fence.
Perfect. Okay. Can we go to the site plan, the comparison, that one? If you flip back and forth, have you settled on one of these?
Yeah, the one that creates the courtyard around the oak tree. So the other one is
Yeah.
what we wanted. Yep.
Okay. All right. Do we have Adam yet? Let's see.
We're still having issues. Adam, is your microphone still not working?
I need to get it.
That's what I was just gonna say. His microphone's still not working.
Working on it.
Okay, Adam, do you want to call my cell phone? And I'll put you on speaker? Or to use the cell phone? Yes, he does.
Technology is your friend until it all of a sudden isn't.
Isn't, right?
And then it's really not.
90% of the time it's out.
There's never been a crack.
That's public.
No, that's the only thing that's showing.
Is it part of Zoom or is it just your?
Oh, that's just my
Teams?
Teams.
Just
Andrew, are you?
go on Teams. Zoom.
I have it downloaded.
Or your number. Oh, okay, he's got your number. He can call you. Or you can call him. Okay.
Carrier pigeon or something.
Come on now. even though I'm not in the hearing, I have my mic off and my speaker off. Let's take a 5-minute break.
You guys can add it for.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break while Adam sorts out whatever he needs to do, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, test. Yeah, I tried unmuting it too, but.
It's working now, Adam.
Okay.
Okay, we're just like in a 5-minute break. We'll be back like in 3 minutes.
Thanks.
Poor Adam has to listen to me all the time too, so.
Hey, Adam.
Okay. Okay.
Hey there, so sorry about that. I have no idea what's happening, but I'm on. Hey there.
Okay,
What?
so,
We do it again?
so we had a couple of questions for you, or just, questions. I think Angie talked about, having worked with you about the viewing, and that the plan we're looking at, it looked like the skylining has been.
Yes,
But-
so. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm waiting on you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, so, as it was like previously mentioned, the building's considerably set back further. Let me see. I can, sorry, the building's considerably set back further. So it's, the skyline should be severely reduced than what it originally was. It's set back further from where that property slopes down further into to where the vineyard area is going to be. The renderings that they did show, which I'm not sure why that's not included in your set that was uploaded, but we do have renderings that kind of show where the main house sits back now. It's meets our height requirements. Like, was there something specific that you needed as far as skylining?
I think skylining was, I think Angie was alluding to the fact that you could speak to whether this was in a location that you could make your finding regarding skyline.
Yes, definitely. The fact that it's set back even further, the trees that they're, proposing to keep, the additional native plantings that they're going to have. As of now, the LUP is still incomplete. So one of the findings is, that visually, it meets our skyline requirement. The building's like 16 feet tall, I believe. It's set back further enough to where, just from the renderings that they proposed, it's sort of barely noticeable too. It kind of hides behind the existing tree ridge lines that you see from, remind me the name of that street again, down below. Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So what's the state of the plans?
He said that they had been uploaded, but he doesn't know why they aren't in our box.
So they weren't uploaded. That's the definition,
Right. I confirmed with our hearing support staff too. Sometimes if the plans are too large, there's issues with them being uploaded, but I'm looking at it right now. I see that it was uploaded. So I can, let me follow up with Teresa real quick and we can verify that.
Well, it's kind of a moot point at this point, because it's what we've got is what we've got. So that's all we can review, sadly.
Yeah, I see that the letter was uploaded on the 10th.
So, okay,
But the landscape and that sketch drawing, I think, is indicative
of what
of the direction
we just
that
don't
things
have.
went.
Yeah.
It's just full architecture was in that additional plan, so.
Did you wanna go through and just kind of quickly, as part of your presentation, do you wanna take any time to talk about? I think we hit most of the CBAR comments in the letter.
Kendall, I don't know if Rory is now available, if he had any color or commentary that he wanted to add?
He hasn't made it back yet, but I don't know that there was much more additionally. I mean, I know we're trying to move the project into preliminary review, so that we can kind of, once it's cited, then we can kind of pin down more of the finer detail points. So, we're hoping that there's enough in this round to move to preliminary review.
Yeah, I think the key is that we worked really hard we listened and we worked really hard to preserve trees, add trees, add to the context of the area, and move the house and kind of mitigate that skylining issue.
Okay, but we have no public comment?
No, we do not have any public comment.
I think we covered all of our questions.
I thought we did, yeah. Okay.
I think
But obviously, whatever it is, we're happy to.
Okay. Board comments? Oh, that shut him up.
I wasn't, present at the.
At the site visit, that's nice cover, yeah.
My question.
And do you have anything to say? I mean, just based on the limited amount of what we've got.
I think the site plan option that was chosen is probably the better of the two.
Yeah.
How it manifests as a elevation and everything, to be seen. But I think it's heading in the right direction from the site plan.
Yeah, I think that was a big move. The 25 foot was a big move, and it was absolutely necessary, I think. It's not my finding. I'm not sure that the skyline issue is put to bed as everybody is hoping for. I think you're still gonna get a little of it, but it's not my finding, so it's done. I'm satisfied. I'm assuming the architecture is very similar to what we saw before, so it's as far as what we've seen and what we're seeing here today with the big move, definitely going in the right direction. How do we want them to come back?
It's hard to say since we haven't seen them, but we'll redrive that car.
It's not about me, guys. I mean,
Well, can we make the finding today without?
we don't have to meet. They're here for conceptual.
There's
So-
no way for us to share a rendering, is there?
Well, technologically, yes, but legally,
But
no.
not legally, yeah.
It says conceptual and preliminary,
So
the drawings aren't available to the public.
So the issues are.
we can't look at them. This is what we've got.
So if they were uploaded if they were sent, they were available to the public, if someone would have requested them, would that have made a difference?
How would somebody, okay.
Because
It's on a Sella versus.
Yeah, because these plans are not even available to the public unless they ask for them.
Well, can you bring them up on your computer right now?
Have you got what was?
No,
submitted?
Can you bring it up on his computer right now?
Oh, no,
You're on the inside.
yeah.
If I go to the computer, could I bring them up on my computer?
None of the plans that we have for CBAR, you could bring them up.
None of them.
Okay. so
Because that's not how it
would the
works.
public get them?
You would.
They
have to
ask.
request
How would
them.
the public even know?
So I think we'd have to come back one more time.
We come back for final, and if we.
Yeah.
If we're not.
Let's do that.
I think that's fair.
And then I think the file was too large and that's why I didn't upload. It was 40 megabyte, 40 and we only allowed 25. So maybe freaking that.
It's a little bit larger than the 25.
Yeah.
Just a little.
I think that's a fair.
That's why-
idea.
Yeah, and that was my next
Preliminary
suggestion
final.
was gonna be,
I-
make sure
I
that you,
would be very happy
break
to
it
do
up.
that, Yeah.
That's fine.
Is that fine?
Yeah, we're good.
and then I'll give you my little speech, which you two already know, but the applicant may not, which is, if you, preliminary is your appealable action. And so, when you come in for preliminary, typically you come in with all your details and everything. And once we take the preliminary action, it pretty much locks everything in place. And then it's all about the details. If you go and you decide to go ahead and swing for the fences and go with your full-on detail set and everything, if in taking our preliminary action, we require you to change those final details, that's your risk and it's on you. It's on you, that's on the applicant, it's
Sure.
not on us, and we're not gonna be, oh, you've already drawn it, we'll leave it, sorry. So that's the risk you run, but if you're comfortable taking that risk, by all means, we'll do you for preliminary final, we'll put you on the agenda for that.
Thank you.
As long as Adam is comfortable with it too.
Of course.
As far as in moving forward with that. And do break up your plans.
Yes, I broke
And
25
please,
down.
please try not, shoot for 10.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question, it's got nothing to do with you guys. That is a hard and fast rule, the software program itself will not take anything more than 25?
No, that's across the county,
Is that it?
That-
Where is that written so I could read that?
everywhere.
It's on the upload instructions.
It's on everybody sees it as upload
I just wanna make sure
instruction.
where the emphasis is, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, it's very clear. I've personally, in my professional capacity, run across this as a limit.
Okay.
In fact, that's why I suggested going for 10 and
To just make
12,
sure that
because
it's
I've had issues with less than 25 and had things that got really foggy. And we've had an applicant recently who broke their sheet set into 6 groups
Okay.
and labeled them for us.
Mhm.
And then was able to tell us, okay, go to this set and this set and this set. We'd much rather futz for an extra few seconds but have them all there.
So in the title, so that they're lined up and you can see.
Yeah. And the shorter your title, the better, because
Okay.
things crap out after a certain number of
Gotcha, yeah.
characters.
I think Adam wants to speak. Okay, Adam.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Adam?
Hey there. I just wanted to reiterate that, this is no fault to the applicant or
Yep.
or staff. We did successfully upload it. I think what Teresa and I are finding kind of in the background is that it was too large and it got corrupt and it probably didn't finish uploading. I'm not sure what the technical issue was, but it's at no fault to the applicant. As far as the finding of, whether the skyline criteria is an issue, we feel pretty confident that it's not, and we can make that finding based on, the new location being set back.
And that's what I
further
said.
from what originally proposed. Cool.
Didn't you say
Just
you
wanted to
got
reiterate that.
That was uploaded?
No, that's
Yeah.
something that Adam gets. Adam, I got a confirmation from Adam that Adam received what I sent, but then he's the one who has to send it into the hearing.
Okay.
And so Adam, I think
So
that's
you
where.
heard from staff that it was,
That it had been received.
Yes.
okay, but it's nobody's fault.
It's a
How
technological
about,
issue.
how about we blame it on me then, okay?
I'm comfortable not even assigning blame at this point. It's,
I don't think,
Comfortable.
I think we're moving
Yeah.
forward in a positive
Comfortable
direction,
wrapping
it
and we're going for
I think we're
final,
doing
and
it.
it's totally great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's
we
getting
can move
hangry, they're getting hangry.
Yeah, we can move
I am. All right, so that's good. That's all of our items. We just need to talk to our staff person and get our minutes done.
Thank you.
Draft, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Then we can blow this gin joint. Did you pull my plastic? Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You didn't take all the pins back. Everybody's got their pins.
We're not writing. There we go.
Alan, are you done with your pen?
I didn't know, I guess, yeah. Whose fault is that?
I'll loan you mine.
It's Adam's.
So who have we got here?
Okay.
All right, this is Chris. I'm the planner. These are the draft comments. So this is for item number 2, the solar project.
Yeah,
Okay.
1 and 2.
Just a second. We gotta get you set up for screen sharing there. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need it to be bigger.
You could, for number 2, the wood utility poles, that's the transmission line. I love that makes it. No, you can leave that in there, but yeah. Yeah, number of trees. Who said number of trees should be increased by at least 4 times?
Yeah, 4 times seems.
You did? Oh, okay. I think,
You think it seems too much?
Should we open?
No, just say significantly or something then.
all right,
Well, significantly is so ambiguous. That could be 3 more than that they had. So, let's see what they come back with.
Okay.
is everybody
You said
comfortable
4
with it?
times, yeah, that's fine.
He did give a number, so
Yeah, that's
are we
fine.
all,
Sure, how many trees were on the original?
Well, that's another question.
You gotta count.
Are you talking quantity, or are you talking, number, the actual, how many plants, like oak, sycamore, you know, how many species?
Maybe we should specify, minimum size for the trees.
I don't think we're there yet. But,
Quantity is what I'm asking.
okay, go ahead and leave it. Like, it should be more, plants should be endemic to the area. Maybe we should put highway facing the northern and southern portion.
And just as a side comment, Bethany,
What's that?
at the very top of that mountain, there's a bowl, right? Where nobody could see at the very top of this, the 2,000 acres, I believe.
Okay.
Why wasn't it put there? Because he said that they wanted to mine in the future, is that what?
Yeah.
I think I heard usually Teresa's like, he was like, shit.
Give me some more.
Cause it's very top, it was torn up.
They were also saying that breaking up. the
Concerned that
fields
the
poses
panels
some
would be
problems.
selective for drivers
What was that now?
along the roadway.
They said breaking up.
I think,
into
you know,
separate
that's kind of
fields
redundant
causes
what we
more
have
No, I'm just saying
there,
move the whole
so
thing.
Oh.
provide,
Nobody sees it.
further information regarding reflectivity, I think you could say.
It's 2,600.
I'm just saying what that said.
I heard, yeah.
And they've been mining on the top, and it's just destroyed.
Solar panel people weren't there to
But
answer.
we did hear a comment that they might want to mine in the future.
Okay, you could move
Yeah.
7 up after 5, and then,
You just can't hide it. I mean, that's just the point.
because I think those two go together, and then I think what you say, when we say review the view shed from, it's Highway 1. And what we're trying to get at there, what I was trying to get at there is that there are locations, review the view shed from Highway 1, in north and southbound directions.
You enlarge that, please?
Yes.
How's that look?
We're doing it on our end, don't worry about it.
Oh.
Okay, so could you kind of like just type as are you done? Because I'm not sure we're getting what he's doing. So review the view shed from Highway 1 in both north and southbound directions.
Okay.
As there appear to be several locations where panels could be placed out of that view shed.
Okay. And then reduce,
Specifically, and then it would be specifically between contours 325, 355, and on the other side of the creek, between the creek and the wetland and the oaks.
side of the creek, between the creek and the oaks.
Uh-huh. And I think that takes care of all of that. That's that whole comment, so you can get rid of everything else. Like number 6, yeah, we can get rid of that.
Delete number 6 too.
Number 6 could then be, so then, between the, yeah, delete number 6, and then after the oaks, we can say, this will allow removal of more visible panels. Because that's closing the loop. I forgot to get back to the whole point of.
Removal of more or relocation?
Relocation.
Yeah, it would be relocation. Will allow relocation of more visible panels. Okay, okay, does that look good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okey-dokey,
Item number 3.
yeah. Okay, so, so for the first point, you need to show, they need to show the, existing grade, especially where modified. And then they need to show a projection or a line that's 16 feet above that.
Projection of height limit 16.
They need to show that, no, it's not the projection of the height limit. They need to show a projection of that, of the existing grade 16 feet above.
Ground plane.
Ground, yeah. Above existing grade, basically. On sections, elevations, etc. Please retain height dimensions, the 16-foot height dimensions and other height dimensions as well.
That look good?
He knew where I was going when he goes, oh, that dimension line's drawn wrong. Okay, that's architecture. We try, I know Andrew said it, but we try not to use terms like charming and so on and so forth.
Oh.
It's Valentine's Day.
I know. I love you, Andrew. Yeah.
Is appropriate.
I don't even think you even need that whole line, right? Doesn't give direction.
All right, well, yeah, and you could say architecture appears to respect the existing surroundings. You
Or
could just
even
say-
that, I mean, that-
Yeah,
that
I
doesn't
know,
help.
but if you want it in there, that would be what it was.
We're not here for pats on the back. We're here to-
Interest
we're
to
here
see how
do this
structures near the
project.
trees will be designed. I think it's more integrated, but that's okay. Informal site visit required, no story poles, but general staking required. Correct.
Yeah. Did we say something about materials or not?
We asked questions about the high fire. Actually, architecture appears to respect existing surroundings. You could add, and materials are appropriate.
Sure.
That gives a reason to tear for the line. Okay.
Save the ditch.
All right. And nice job, by the way, on the minutes. It's not the easiest task in the world.
Thanks. Item number
Okay.
4, I just had the 1.
Let's see, how do we normally do that? Do we usually document my warning about the preliminary final? Not usually. Okay. No,
Skyline.
No.
that's the site plan option that addresses,
In the right direction.
that addresses the skylining. Issue, was chosen and is appropriate. You could just say, and is appropriate, I guess.
I also think we need to include something here that the information in the box is empty. That'll give people in the future, when they look at this, as to why it coming back the way it is, a reason for why it's coming back the way it is.
If you want to say there were technical issues with drawing submittal, we can put that in there. We don't usually point fingers because that.
I'm not pointing fingers, but if you looked at this, somebody might, where it's coming back, and my consideration is, it's coming back in a non-normal way, or non-standard way. And I think, however you want to word it.
How about this?
We need to put something in there to explain why
How
that's happening.
how about we put a second note in there that says, please, refer to notes from December hearing for further comments. as,
That seems reasonable.
as,
Whatever
not,
first
not
act
all
is.
drawings were available for review.
Because you wouldn't want somebody else to come in that has done everything correctly and then try to goose the thing forward,
Right, yeah.
citing this.
So there we go. And then could you include the December, both of them, when we get the comments? So we have both comments.
Okay.
Okay, 5, I think there's one more, this is the last one.
Yep.
Story pole. Number 2, story pole, each end of the peak of the roof. And stake corners.
They're gonna ground stake the corners.
Hmm?
They're gonna ground stake the corners.
And then, and stake corners of the building for site visit.
The building's about a million.
If possible, well, the,
The building's about $1,000,001.
please provide, for number 3, you can say, please provide information regarding color and materials. That just lets them, because I didn't tell him he had to. I gave him the option.
Lumber futures.
Okay?
There you go.
Please pay attention to and reduce the, especially with. Okay, is that low? Is that good? Is that good? The last, the Bubarina, this is the reading, okay? I think that's the last one, right? All right,
That's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion, we,
Adjourn?
yes.
I'd like to second.
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.